Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Guidance Corner. My name is Christelle, and welcome to this week's discussion. So, this week's discussion is on fragmentation and how we can, without realizing, how we can fragment, meaning how we can split when we are trying to make decisions. So, to assist with the explaining in this video, I'm actually just going to pick a decision. So this is not saying that this is what you're going through. Apply it as it resonates with you. But this is just so that we've got a base story, if you like, and then we can build on that. So I want you to imagine that it's the weekend and you've just finished a really hectic week at work and the weekend has rolled up and you wake up tired on a Saturday morning, but also with a to-do list as long as your arm. What do you do? What aspect of yourself do you honor? Do you honor the aspect of yourself that is tired, that needs to rest? Or do you honor the aspect of yourself that is driven to get things done, to make the most of your weekend? If we don't fragment in that moment, if we don't, if those choices in front of us don't create push and pull between different aspects of ourselves, the decisions will be made in a very, for want of a better word, healthy way. So you will look at your weekend and you will look at your to-do list and you will look at your energy levels with true, authentic honesty. So when we don't fragment with our choices, when we don't allow different aspects of ourselves to link up with a choice, we can actually just make a choice. So for instance, we wake up tired on a Saturday morning and we will look at our to-do list and go, do you know what? A lot of that is, in the scheme of things, it's not important. I need to wash my clothes for work the next week. I might have a uniform. Okay, that I need to do. I need to factor that into my weekend because come Monday, if I don't do that, there will be consequences. And I won't have anything to wear, or I'll have to put on my dirty uniform or whatever it is. Now, you might need to dust your house. Now, let's look at that. Because for some people, that might be oh, let's cross that off the list. That's so not important. The dust will be there next weekend. I can do it next weekend. Now, if you have severe allergies, that dust creates a problem. So that dust then becomes a priority because that dust will impact your well-being. So what happens when we fragment? How does that look? When we fragment, we get caught up in our story, if you like. So we don't just look at the facts like, okay, I suffer from asthma or severe allergies. Dusting is a priority for me. Or I wear a uniform to work. Cleaning it is a priority for me because come Monday, there'll be consequences. So it's very pragmatic. It's very logical. When we fragment, we tap into aspects of ourselves that generally carry a wound. What does that mean? When we carry a wound within us, a past experience, whether it's something that happened or something that somebody said or something that maybe didn't even happen directly to us, but we saw somebody experience something, somebody say something to somebody else, and we've taken a snapshot of that and we hold it within ourselves as a guide of sometimes what's socially acceptable, what is best practice or what we believe is best practice. Sometimes it can be something that makes us feel like we're good people. We've got our act together. And so these wounds that we carry, they can, for want of a better way of explaining it, they attach themselves to these outcomes. So let me give you an example to assist in making this a little bit clearer. If you saw your mother frantically clean the house before people came over, and the rest of the time she was pretty cool, you would associate people coming over with having to go above and beyond what is normal for you. So, of course, when we receive guests, we always want everything to look nice. But there's an almost exaggerated sense. So it becomes an exaggerated, I'm not sure what word to use here. It becomes an exaggerated action almost, because there's a drive to almost have everything perfect. So if somebody says to you, so if you have that scenario, you have that wound, I'm going to call it a wound because it's something that changes us. It's something that's there that reminds us, oh, we've got to be this certain way or do this certain way. So a wound. So I'm just going to say, imagine you've got a wound on your finger. Now you're going to try not to knock that finger. You're going to change your actions so that the wound is not impacted. This is what internal wounds do as well. They make us change our actions so that that wound is not triggered. So if somebody very casually says to you, oh, look, I might pop in over the weekend if you're going to be home. Now, if you have that wound, what is that going to trigger? That's going to trigger this, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm already so overwhelmed. I've got a to-do list and now I've got this person that obviously is close or they wouldn't just pop in. So it can be a family member or a very close friend. And now they want to just pop in. I can already feel, and I'm sure you can, that, oh no. What's going to happen? Multiple different things just depending on where you are. You might start to make up a multitude of excuses to that person as to why they shouldn't pop in. You might feel instant anger towards that person. Oh, they're putting something extra on my plate. You might just go into a panic and be like, yes, that sounds great. See you soon. And then go into a flurry of absolute, I've got to get everything done. I've got to get everything perfect. So now that we're seeing this within us, now that we can see these different aspects of ourself pushing and pulling, because one aspect of ourself wants to honor this wound and clean the house. Another aspect of ourselves wants to honor our fatigue and rest. And another aspect of ourself wants to honor our to-do list and do as much on that list as we possibly can. We're now fragmented. We're now split. So what does that mean if we look at it even deeper? Suddenly, the choices almost take the back seat. They're no longer center stage in what is happening in front of us. Suddenly the choices that were the catalysts almost now become second place as these different aspects of ourself, sounds very dramatic, but go to war on each other because they will fight to have their needs met. Because now that we're split, we don't see ourselves as a whole anymore. We are now these different fragments of ourselves that have their own agenda. This is why when we split, when we fragment, it's actually very painful. It's actually very difficult to reach a solution, to reach a choice, and then be peaceful in that choice, be happy with that choice, because there will be aspects of ourselves that haven't been honored. So there'll be aspects of ourselves that feel unheard, that feel unworthy, that lost. So even the aspect of ourself that technically won, that got what it wanted, well, now there's other aspects of us that are unhappy. So we as a whole can't be happy. And this is why we often say with our choices, we might be stuck between a rock and a hard place, because it doesn't matter which choice we choose, we're not going to be happy, because there will be an aspect of ourselves that hasn't been honored. Okay, so like I said earlier, we can see this now. We can see how it's going to play out, and we can see that it's painful. It's a painful experience, and one that we will try to avoid. We don't want to be in anymore. So what do we do with this information? What does this mean? How can we avoid fragmenting ourselves? The solution isn't easy, because there's healing that has to be done. We need to work on those different aspects of ourselves, those different wounds. Now, counseling can come in and help you with that. One, as identifying them, seeing, well, I have this wound now. How do I heal it? What do I do with this aspect of myself that every time it's met with a certain exterior situation is going to flare up? What do I do? Talking with a counsellor can help to unpack that wound. Sometimes it's helpful to see, where did it originate from? What created that? To see if it's something we even believe in. Sometimes we take on somebody else's wound. The example that I gave you earlier, where a child might be looking at their mother going crazy when a visitor's coming, getting the house clean and everything has to be perfect. So seeing where these wounds come from, there's a level of understanding, there's a level of acceptance then that needs to come in. And counseling can help with that, because counseling can help us to put things in their proper place. We can kind of start to put in a certain amount of logic while still accepting where this wound has come from and how it impacts our life. And there's a sense of that acceptance and that understanding and that logical kind of analysis of it behind it, that we can begin to I was going to say to break apart, but obviously we're talking about a wound, so we don't want to break open the wound. But we can start to unpack it and understand, okay, this wound needs to come up. I'm a firm believer that once we see something, once we understand something, Once we acknowledge something, we can't unsee it. We can't pretend it's not there. We can, but it becomes a little bit more difficult. And I feel that deep within us, we know that that's no longer the truth because we've seen it, we've shed some light on it. So understanding how we could have fragmented, how these choices has created divides within us that then makes each choice paramount. Each choice needs to be fulfilled in order for us to feel whole, which is impossible. If every choice could be fulfilled, it wouldn't be a choice because a choice means choosing amongst what's in front of us. I've created a meditation to allow us to see, to allow us to return to wholeness. We're not ever not whole. We are always whole, but we forget and we get pulled in these different aspects and we feel unwhole. So I'll link that meditation below. And if you feel called, just even maybe do that a few times in a row when you have the time. And that will already help you to start to shift your perspective on how you see choices and how they affect you as a whole. I'll also do a worksheet, which I'll link below, and also a blog as well. So if you like to sort of sit and read and take the time to really allow things to process within you, there'll be a blog on my website as well to help you with that. So closing off, and the worksheets, there'll be 2 worksheets with these images because sometimes I find images can be so helpful. If you're not fragmented, I want you to imagine you as an outline of a person, and you have these bubbles or clouds in front of you, and they've got your choices. And you can look at each one of them objectively and honestly with how you're feeling at the moment. That's what choices are. They're external things. They're outside of you. Now, when we fragment, I want you to now picture that your body is sort of split and linked to these different choices. So now there's still the same amount of choices that you had before, but now there's an aspect of you. And to get an image of an aspect of you, I want you to link, maybe an arm to one of them, a leg to another. So you are now split and linked to these different choices, options. That when you get that image in front of you, and have a look at the worksheet because there's a diagram of it, which some of us are great at visualizing, others not so well, so that will help you with your visualization. Suddenly there's not just one you making a choice. It's almost like lots of you making a choice. So there'll always be, as I mentioned earlier, an aspect of yourself that feels unheard because their choice might not be chosen. And that creates that unhappiness within us. Even though we've made our choice, there's these other aspects that now feel pushed aside, unheard, and that creates tension within us. So even when we make a choice, and it could be the perfect choice, it really doesn't even matter what the outcome of the choice is. It could be a good choice, it could be a bad choice. That really doesn't even matter in this instance. We'll feel frustrated. We'll feel a little bit let down. not by others, but by ourselves. We'll feel like we've let ourselves down because these aspects, we couldn't meet every aspect. We have to make one choice. So even the part of us that wins still loses to the other aspects. And because we're a whole person, it's painful. So I hope that little bit of a visualization can help you to see how painful fragmenting can be and why when we make choices, sometimes we're just not happy. And even if that choice ends up being the perfect choice, like we get hindsight and validation at the end of making that choice, and it was a good choice, it was the best choice, there's no joy behind it because there's still those other aspects of ourselves that haven't been met. Their needs haven't been met. So when we realize that we are making choices from this fragmented space, there's healing that needs to come in. We need to look at these different aspects of ourselves that are tied into these choices, and we need to heal them. And sometimes we can do that on our own. We have enough understanding. The aspects of ourselves, like I said earlier, the wounds might be quite shallow, so quite easy to access. Sometimes the wounds are so deep that we can't even see what aspect of ourselves is being triggered. We might not even be able to see all the aspects of ourselves that are linked in or why we are fragmented. We might be able to realize that, okay, I'm having really a lot of difficulty making choices, and I'm never happy when I've made a choice. And I almost feel resentment, anger towards these choices, but I can't see what in me is driving those. So if that's the case, seek counseling. A counselor will just help you unpack that. A counselor helps you go deeper in a safe, non-judgmental environment where you can access the information that you need so you can bring things up, you can unpack them, and you can release them. So I hope this little talk has been useful to you. I hope it has created an understanding, a bit of a visual of what can happen to us when we're even making very, very simple day-to-day choices and how they impact us and leave us feeling maybe not our best, not validated and heard. And how it's not those choices that are doing that to us. That's quite important. It's not the choices in front of us that is doing this to us. It is the fragmented, it is the way that we have split with an attachment to each of those choices that makes those choices painful. So that's it for this week's discussion, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Just a recap on all the free resources that I offer that is based on this fragmentation topic and choices. I have the blog on my website. I'll have the worksheets linked below. There's 3 of them. And I'll have the meditation linked below. You'll also be able to access all the information from my Instagram. If you feel called to share how this impacts you, how you fragment, how choices might be difficult for you, please feel free to. I love to read your comments, so please feel free to share. And I'll see you in the next weekly discussion. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.